Hi viewers, this is Rajesh. Today I would like to discuss about the interview questions of Java for experienced. Okay, so what is OOPS? OOPS is object oriented programming language. So we'll have abstraction, encapsulation, class, object, inheritance, polymorphism. Coming to inheritance, we have single inheritance, hierarchical inheritance, multi-level inheritance, and multiple inheritance. And coming to polymorphism, we have static polymorphism and dynamic polymorphism. Static polymorphism means overloading, dynamic polymorphism is overriding. So, what is meant by abstraction? So, abstraction is nothing but hiding the unnecessary details. Suppose you write a class with a method of getting big integer like this. Okay, so you write this class, so class A and private variable int I1 and I2 and public int get big int of int comma int. So you write the logic here, I1 greater than I2, else this one. So this is actual implementation. So while calling, so you expose this method, this class and this method. So third party or else Java classes will have API, right? So you would like to write, you create your own doc and you supposed to consume somewhere like this. So you have created class B and main method is there. We have to create an object for the class A. So we are getting, you are using that API. So here A dot get big int of 3 comma 5 you are sending. So you don't know what is the logic implemented inside it. So you are getting the big value as 5 that we are printing here. So what is happening here is, so A dot get big int of 3 comma 5. You don't know what is the implementation. Just API was there, you just consumed it. So this is called abstraction. Coming to encapsulation, here we'll have setter and getter methods, right? In class A. This is called private variables and public setter and getter methods will have. So that is called encapsulation. Why we require private variables here? For the data security. With the public setter and getter setter values and getter values only, you can able to access that particular integers. That is called encapsulation. Coming to what is class? Class is a blueprint of an object. What is an object? Object is one of the instance of a class. What is inheritance? So inheritance is single inheritance, hierarchical inheritance, multi-level inheritance, and multiple inheritance. So before discussing this, so what I mean to say is like multiple, except multiple inheritance, everything we can able to achieve through classes itself, except multiple inheritance. For instance sake, what is interface? Before that one, what is interface we'd like to know. So what is interface means? So interface is nothing but will have public static final variables. So this value should be initialized. So if you don't specify this public static final also, it will take it as defaultly public static final itself. Coming to methods, public abstract methods. So if you don't mention before public and abstract also, it will take it as public abstract methods itself. So what are the things it won't allow? So it won't allow private, protected, static, final, native, strict of, synchronize in interface methods. Coming to interface method, so here we have public, right? So instead of, I should not use private, protected, or else any access modifier or access specifier I can't able to specify. Coming to variables, so private, protected, volatile, transient, this and all not applicable for a public stat variable in the interface. Yeah. Coming to next thing, how can we extend? Suppose we have a class. Suppose we have a class C1 interface I1. If you want, and then class C2 interface I2. We are extending C1 extends C2. C1 implements I2. Interface cannot implement or extends to a class. Interface can able to extend another interface. Coming to single inheritance, hierarchical inheritance, multi-level inheritance, I will show you here. So single inheritance means C2 is a subclass, C2 extends C1, and multi-level inheritance is C3 extends C2, C2 extends C1. Coming to hierarchical inheritance, so we have C2 extends C1 and C3 extends C1. In Java, we can able to extend only one class for a class. Coming to multiple inheritance, it is not achieved through classes, but we can able to achieve through interfaces. So we'll have I2 and implements C1, and I C2 I'm what I meant for C, why I mentioned C is a class, I is an interface. So C2 implements I2. So how we can achieve means, suppose I2, for I2 reference, if I assign C2 object, then I can able to call the C2 class methods. If I instantiate I2 reference with C2 object, then I can able to call C2 methods. So multiple inheritance can be achieved in this way. Hope you understand. Coming to what is polymorphism. Before going to that one, I will explain you few more things. So suppose that we have a class A with M1 and M2, and class B extends class A with M2 and M3. So here M2 I am overriding here. So here I am overriding M2 with the same signature. Okay. So if I create an instance of B1 equal to new B2, so I can able to call B1 dot M1 method, M2 method, M3 method. So how it will be executed is here. You can able to call all that. So A class M1 method will be called, B class M2 method will be called, B class M3 method will be called. But B class reference we can't assign A class object. It won't be allowed. So for A class, if you create an object with B instance, it is applicable. So what I can do, so object has a main criteria here. So B instance, right? Even though A reference, so B is the main criteria. So A1 dot M1, then it will call this method. As first it will check in this one. If it is not there, it will check here. So coming to M2, as B is the criteria, so it will execute M2 and M3. So coming to fourth one, as A2 equal to A instance, so A2 dot M1, M2, M3. M3 it can't able to identify. At compile time cannot find the symbol M3. Here in the same way, so what it's saying, cannot find the symbol M3. So leave it if you. So coming to next one is polymorphism. Polymorphism is static polymorphism and dynamic polymorphism. Static polymorphism means overloading. Dynamic polymorphism means overriding. So overloading means within a class we can have n number of methods with the same name with the variable arguments, like one argument, two argument. If two arguments also, at least if you change the sequence, like int a comma string b, if you have, means in the suppose public void m1 int a comma string b, if you write, and public void m1 string b comma int I, we can define. It will treat as two different. As the argument is different, it can allow. So what I can say is, overloading means we can have the same name with variable arguments, at least in the order, within a class, is called overloading. And coming to overriding, you should have easier relationship between the two classes. Easier means extends. So like a single inheritance. So C2 class extends C1. So if you like to override, means it should have a inheritance. So inheritance, and we can say the same signature, means public void m1 string s and int a, means we should follow the same signature, and we will implement in the C2, so that whenever we don't require the superclass functionality, then only we will override the subclass. That's the same signature, and the implementation will be deferred in the C2. So they will ask you for what are the rules while overriding. So what I can say is, suppose like we have public void m1 throws IO exception. So this think like this is the method in the parent class. So what I can say is, we should not reduce in the subclass. So it is a child class, right? So we can override like the same way, means it has IO exception. So this is the subclass of exception. It won't allow. The reverse is possible. Like superclass should have superclass exception and subclass should have subclass exception. That is one of the important thing in overriding. In the same way, IO exception is there, means we can extend other exceptions as well, like file not arithmetic exception and null pointer exception. Suppose if superclass does not have any exception, we can throw array index out of points exception. Any exception we can do it, and this is also possible. Like if you have throws exception in the subclass, we do not require. The thing is, if superclass has higher exception, so exception is the superclass, IO exception is the subclass. So parent should have the superclass exception and child should have subclass exception. That is must and should. Coming to access specifiers, access modifiers. Okay, so if we have public, we can in the subclass we should have public only. So if you have other things, like if you have protected, if you have a default here, we should be in the, while overriding, we should be in the subclass should be default, protected and public we can give. If superclass have protected, in subclass we should have protected and public. And if superclass is private, we can't able to override here. So mean to say that private methods we can't override. And coming to, I'll show you here how it is happening. So if you have public in the superclass, should be override with public only. If you have protected, we can override with protected and public. And if you have default, we can have default, protected or public. If you have private, we can't able to override it. Coming to access modifiers. So if you have final in the parent class while overriding, we cannot make it as non-final or final. So means final cannot be, the final means that is the final. So we cannot override the final methods and private methods. So if we have non-final, we can make it as non-final or final. If we have abstract in the superclass while overriding, we can make it as non-abstract, means we will give the implementation. In the same way, if you have non-abstract method also, we can make it as an abstract in the child class. So we have, if you have a synchronized, we can make it as non-synchronized. If you have a non-synchronized method in the parent class, we can make it as synchronized in the subclass. If you have a native in the superclass, we can make it as non-native, and if you have a non-native in the superclass, we can make it as native in the subclass. These are some of the important rules in overriding. And coming to handling the exception hierarchy. So if you have write while implementing, if you write try catch, okay, we can handle it with the try catch as well. But while doing overriding, we need to remember this one. While doing that one, while if you don't throws exception, if you are handling it, you should be write the means if you write a try, under that we need to write first IO exception and then exception only, because if you write the super class exception handling, it is already handling the exception, so you no need to, it will say, if you write IO exception as the second catch, it will tell you like it was already caught. So while handling try catch, we should write in such a way like try after catch the subclass, after that we can write the catch of superclass, and then we can write the finally. So hope you understand. So that's all about oops. Thank you.